Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wowza webinar Spring 2021 Product Update. My name is Justin Miller, and we are going to be talking today about all things Wowza. You'll be hearing about Wowza streaming engine enhancements, including how to achieve high-quality video at the lowest bitrate, maximizing video consistency when reliability is lacking, delivering timed metadata for MPEG-live streams, and protecting WebRTC playback with secure token. We'll also get into Wowza streaming cloud updates, including DRM technology and MPEG- support, as well as the latest Wowza Clearcaster capabilities, including the enhanced streamlined UI and the new Facebook templates. And with that, I'd like to introduce our presenters. Not sure if Robert is frozen or on mute, but that's okay. Emma, if you could please introduce yourself.
Yeah, can do. Thanks, Justin. My name is Emma Guth. Great to see you all again. I'm the product manager for our Wowza Clearcaster encoder product. So super excited to give you a little sneak preview of what we've been working on the past few months.
All right. Thank you. And Robert? Okay, again, not sure what's happening with Robert, which does worry me since, Robert, you're going to be the next person to be speaking today, but that's okay. Hey, we also have our special guest, Jason. Jason, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Howdy, everyone. I'm Jason Tubler, Technical Support Supervisor for Wowza, and I'll be assisting your Q&A questions today.
So that's right. Jason's going to be here answering your Q&A questions. So if you want to pointedly state, Jason, please help me with this, you're welcome to. But again, this is not, I know, Jason, this is not a place for getting technical support. So if you could focus on questions related to issues, or I shouldn't say issues, things going on with the product, please do let us know. Okay, that being said, I do have a poll I'd love to bring up before we get started here. So I'm just going to launch that poll right now. And that poll questions are, well, actually, these are standard poll questions, but I'm just going to pop them in first here. Are you currently streaming live video? What type of latency do you see in your stream? Do you currently use Wowza? And what industry are you in? That wasn't the poll I meant to put up, but that's okay. I'm going to leave that poll up there. And I am a little concerned, John, because it does appear that Robert may not be coming back on again. So if that's okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can hear you.
I am so glad to hear that. I can hear you. That's awesome. Robert, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. My name is Robert Vacanti. I am the product manager for our SaaS products and specifically Wowza Streaming Cloud. So we'll be excited to talk about some new things that we've got out for you, and specifically some information about DRM, our most recent addition to the cloud product.
All right. Well, hey, with that, I'm going to end this current poll, and I'm actually going to bring up the poll that you have here, and I'm going to launch this poll. Robert had some questions here. As engine and cloud functionality have grown closer, many customers have moved to cloud to benefit from less maintenance, automatic upgrades, worldwide reach, and lower TCO. If you don't consider yourself a candidate for cloud, what's the primary obstacle? We'd love to know this. So we definitely appreciate if you could answer any of those questions. And then we have some questions related to DRM at the bottom. Do you believe your service might currently be losing revenue due to lack of streaming protection? And are you currently using a DRM solution? So we'd love to get these answers for you. It definitely helps in us determining our future roadmap. I'm going to just say it like that, John. I mean, I know at the end of the day, I have no say in any of that.
Well, our customers do, right? So we want to make sure we are building for what helps our customers drive their business. So I think the poll is a great place to get that information. But I do appreciate your feedback, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. And with that, I'm going to end the poll. And let's just move forward. So Robert, if you are ready.
Go ahead, Justin. So the first thing I want to talk a little bit about is about the changes that we're making to Wowza Streaming Cloud in order to make it, more compelling for all of our customers. And so right now we've got a little bit of a marketing promotion going about helping customers that are currently our engine customers move to Wowza Streaming Cloud when it's appropriate for them. So, we are working in adding capabilities to our existing cloud platform to make it so that capabilities that you have come to depend on in engine are available in cloud. So some of those, first of all, DRM in the list that you see there, I will be talking more about that specifically today. That's the most recent addition. As part of that, we also now expose MPEG Dash that we didn't have previously. WebRTC is now an available feature inside of Wowza Streaming Cloud. So if you're looking for that low latency sort of solution, WebRTC is readily available. We have the ability to schedule streams. We've got live to VOD, so that if you've got recordings that you want to make recordings and be able to restream those as pre-packetized HLS, that's already available. And the ability to add metadata so that you can, if you've got an application that needs to have metadata, be that for a quiz or a poll or some special application that you're making, we've got that mechanism in order to carry that information. So of course, one of the big advantages of a SaaS product that our customers are benefiting from the most is that because it's a SaaS product, it's running on our infrastructure, we're administrating it, we're upgrading it, we're patching it, we're securing it, and we're maintaining the whole infrastructure. So we've got a operations team that's responsible for keeping that running so that you don't have to. So, you should be able to focus on your streaming and the value that your business delivers. And we're making it so that our team are the ones that keeps it running. And we have the advantage of, it being around the clock. We've got support around the world. We've got data centers around the world. So there are a lot of advantages that we can have that a single installation can't as easily duplicate. It's always on. It's always ready. Like I said, around the world, following the sun, but data centers in multiple places around the world. Global deployments in SAS 70 Type 2 data centers. So security is something that unfortunately is more and more of an issue, and we are making a very strong commitment to making sure that everything is secured, and all of our deployments are in SAS 70 data centers. We have the scale so that if you've got a massive audience, if it's over 1 million people, we want to know about those in advance when they're that big to make sure that multiple people aren't doing it at the same time, but we can handle those large audiences. So whether that's one stream or multiple streams all running at the same time, whether that's large viewership or large numbers of streams, we have that scale in order to be able to accommodate that. It's very much built for performance, but also for ease of use. So this is a very generic stream, admittedly, but it's very possible to set up a stream and be streaming to the world in under 2 minutes. It's not that difficult if you just walk through our wizard. So it makes it really easy and convenient, depending on what your workflow is, to just start streaming. Of course, at the other end of the spectrum, if you want very granular control, everything has API control. So it's available via our REST API. You can tailor it, you can customize it. Lots of our customers, the larger customers, are using the API very heavily. That's available as well. And then, the big business benefit is that for some customers, there's a significant savings in the total cost of ownership. We buy in volume. And so when we're talking about connecting to a CDN and doing that distribution in the data centers, there's potentially a savings for you in terms of deploying to cloud rather than owning all of that infrastructure yourself. And that's above and beyond the labor savings of not having to do the maintenance and things like that. So I just would mention, this is something that some of you may have already received in emails. We do right now have solution architects that are able to speak to this and help you evaluate whether it's something that makes sense to you. Makes sense for you. And so, if you do have that interest, please feel free to send that an email to customer success and just talk about it and explore whether that's a good possibility for you. We think it is. And if it's not, that survey that you had earlier that we just had completed, we continue to add features. And our goal is to make it so that you can choose what's the most appropriate for your business. So with that, I'm going to move into DRM specifically. Justin, if you could advance the slide. So DRM is one of our newest features that we had, and it's something that we're starting to see adoption of. Wanted to make you aware of it in addition to the other features we've added. And effectively what we're seeing, and the industry I think overall is seeing, and we're at a place because we're getting all that concentrated traffic from all of our different customers, that unfortunately content is being pirated, and people have viewers that they either don't intend to have because their content isn't protected, or people are stealing the content and then utilizing it to restream themselves in an illegal venue in different places around the world. So DRM is a solution to that problem, makes it so that the content then is controlled. And so if you've got content that's valuable, that you're looking to monetize, having something like DRM is becoming increasingly critical. So we've got a way now to add that protection so that your service, your intellectual property, and the revenue streams are protected. And at this point, it allows you, particularly if you're monetizing content, to make sure that only the people that are paying for it are seeing it. And what I've got written there about content owners, a lot of times if you don't own that content, it's increasingly becoming a requirement. They're not going to let people stream sporting events or entertainment events without having some type of protection on it, so that it's not just stolen and showing up on whatever the illegal version of YouTube is the next day. So, effectively, this really does lock that protection down. And if you're not authorized, you're not going to see it. And unfortunately, it seems like the pandemic is driving this. So we've seen a substantial uptick in the number of people that are stealing content. We get notifications. We work very actively in order to prevent that fraud and that theft as often as we can. But at some point, some amount of damage is already done before everything gets shut down. So, we've seen a lot of it. We would encourage you, this feature is now available, and we would encourage you, if you're a cloud customer and you have that valuable content, to use it. There's documentation, and I'll talk a little bit how it works now. So Justin, if you could advance the slide. Effectively, so the provider that we are partnering with to do some of the key management, because a lot of security, particularly with DRM, is about managing those keys and making sure that only the right person gets those keys. We've integrated with EasyDRM. They are a partner that's done a really nice job and made it really, frankly, very simple in order to add that DRM to existing streams or to new streams. And it's not, it's a very robust solution as well. So what it gives you is just what I described earlier. If you've got premium content and you want to stop that piracy or illegal redistribution, it's got that capability. And effectively, for those of you who have familiarity with DRM solutions, there are three main methods of being able to do content encryption and that DRM protection. And those are Fair Play, Widevine, and PlayReady from the different vendors. And because this hasn't yet converged or may never converge on just one technology, you need to have all three of those available in order to get the widest viewership that's possible. So if you're on an Apple device, not surprisingly, you have to use Apple Fair Play. If you're on a smart TV or a set-top box or on a Chrome browser or something like that, it may well require you to use Widevine or PlayReady. So we make sure that it's possible to use all three of those simultaneously in order to be able to protect your content for everyone that you distribute to and not have to limit your audience. So effectively what's happening is it's being protected on the fly. That key management, there's a whole bunch of exchange, and I'll show that in a second, getting the right keys into the right people at the right time to make sure that they've got the right stream and that stream is protected so that it's not useful to anybody but that intended audience. So with that, go ahead and advance the slide, Justin. This is effectively the way that it works. You at the far left are pushing your content in via whatever protocol makes the most sense for you. You're pushing it in, and typically it goes into cloud and then goes out via, say, HLS in an unencrypted format. What's happening now is this key exchange occurs. So cloud automatically, once you've configured this, goes out and says, okay, you've given me the key. I need to make sure that I've got that key, talks to EasyDRM, gets the right key, and then has it. So that at that point, it can be used for encryption purposes. So cloud then will automatically encrypt it. Note at this point, on the right side of that, now it's going to be pushing out encrypted content. And that encrypted content is either, if it's HLS based, which is again an Apple standard, it's going to be using Fair Play in order to do that encryption. If it's using, and one of the reasons we added Dash, if you're going to other devices, those set-top boxes, you're likely to need MPEG Dash. So MPEG Dash stream comes out, but it has been encrypted with either Widevine and PlayReady. Then at the other end, there's another exchange that's happening as well. You've got the viewer, whatever the viewer is, using whatever device that they have, somehow they need to have been provided with a decryption key. And so it's up to you, depending on how you want to implement it, to decide who you want to vend that. So that could be behind a paywall that's You paid for it, you get a key. It could be that you're of a known class, if you're of a known set of people that you want to protect that content from. Somehow there's a determination that's up to you to say this person should get the key or this person shouldn't get the key. So once they have that key, obviously, now the content flows over to that player, and those players are just the other side of that exact same coin, and they're going to take and decrypt that content so that it's viewable. Anybody who gets one of those URLs for the HLS or for the dash, they potentially can fetch those segments, but they're completely useless to them because they can't decrypt it. It's not something they can stream. It's not something a player can use. All they've got is gibberish. So you don't see a black screen. You don't see a staticky screen. You don't see anything. Effectively, the player will say, I can't make any sense of this. It would be almost like if you pointed a player at a regular URL for some site. It may fetch the beginning of it, but it just doesn't make sense because it's not the protocol that it expects, and it doesn't know what to do with it. So nothing is going to get streamed, and nobody's going to see anything. I will note that if that happens, typically the player says, I don't have a key for this content. So there's some indication as to what's going on, but the content isn't something anybody can view. Justin, if you advance the slide. I would mention that this is primarily an API-based feature because of the key exchanges that need to happen. So what I'm showing here, and I won't go into any great detail, is effectively the set of things that have to happen. And if you choose to do this, we've got examples. Justin recorded a video showing this all being done with Postman. I've got some Python code that I wrote that's an example. It's 40 or 50 lines in order to be able to do this. And effectively, the first thing you do is you generate those keys, you distribute those keys, cloud gets those keys, and then the player needs to get those keys. And then after that is all set up, the stream progresses the same way it normally would, and the player just does the decryption to make it so that nobody else can see it. So the linchpin here is making sure that you control who gets those keys. If you want more details, feel free to contact us about it. I'm not going to go into more detail now. And finally, I think the last slide for DRM, or perhaps, stop for Q&A.
Guess not. Thank you for that, Robert. I really like DRM features. When I was making the videos for it, I had to fake the endings because naturally I could not actually record them. Nothing appeared on the screen, which really infuriated me until I realized that it was only happening because I was recording the screen. As soon as I stopped, I could see everything. So yay, it worked.
Yeah, I was actually really pleasantly surprised, and I was not an expert. I'm not an expert in DRM. I still have a fundamental but not a full understanding of how all the technology works. But it's impressive that even a screen capture is protected by these. And so if somebody does have the key and they choose to turn on some screen capture where they're recording the screen, they still, all the operating system vendors now have that DRM embedded in them as well, and the browsers have it embedded, and so even a screen recording won't work in order to allow you to capture that content for that illegal redistribution.
Awesome. And if anyone wants more information, in the chat window, you'll see the links to get information on our documentation as well as the videos. We have one question from Ernesto who just wanted to verify that DRM is native as opposed to a modular feature.
It is there for your consumption. It's deployed on in everyone's account. If they take advantage of it, it's there to be used. You do also need the Easy DRM account because they're the ones that are providing this key. And so there is a second account that you need, but all the features you need on the Wowza site are there and available to you.
Perfect. And another question coming in, I know we have 4K available via Wowza Streaming Cloud, but when do we think 5K might be available? Do we have that on the roadmap?
It's not, frankly, the number of people that are using 4K is still pretty low. So 5K isn't something that we're ready to jump on very heavily. We are monitoring, like with everything else, to see what the adoption of that is, and then it'll be added at an appropriate time. It's not typically for us to be able to handle it, we've got usually the processing power, or we'll put the encoders or the media processing servers on something with sufficient horsepower. It gets expensive, as anybody who's done 4K can tell you, because of the rate at which the bandwidth grows when you're distributing that much content. So right now, customers have not moved in mass in that direction yet.
No problem. And I am going to launch a poll while we answer the last question right here. And this poll is related to Wowza Streaming Engine. While I leave that up for people, I'm going to ask this question from Kirk. Will DRM work with Wowza Streaming Engine, or is cloud required?
The DRM is also available. It's a module that you add for Engine, and so that's available. And it's obviously something then you need to configure because we've already kind of gotten all of it staged for you nicely in cloud. But yeah, there are modules available depending on the provider that you choose to work with that can be added to Engine in order to DRM protect your content.
Awesome. Okay, we are going to move forward. If people still have questions about Wowza Streaming Cloud, though, feel free to type them into the Q&A window. We will have a section at the end where we'll be answering any and all questions. So again, please feel free to type them in. But the next section we are going into is definitely about Wowza Streaming Engines. I'm just going to end this poll, but the questions are, do you host your solution in the public cloud? And how do you secure your content? So with that, I'm going to end the poll here. And John, here you go.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks, and great job, Robert. Exciting stuff coming for Wowza Streaming Cloud, and I'm excited because my first webinar I get to speak to our market-leading product, Wowza Streaming Engine, and a few things that we'll cover today. And then, of course, as we progress through the roadmap, you'll see that we have some themes in which we're trying to ensure that the product that you use to drive your solution is the best possible and meets your needs. So the focus will be on quality of the video, the reach of where you can deliver it, security, and we mentioned DRM and some of the modules, and we'll talk a little bit about secure token on WebRTC. And of course, we have a constant focus on reliability, really ensuring that we're knocking out any defects that come up, and ensuring that you have a very reliable tool to use as you build out your solution to leverage video streaming. So just going to the next slide, the first thing I want to highlight is a pretty exciting announcement that we now have partnered with Beamer, and Beamer is available for live video transcoding. It is an very efficient state-of-the-art live transcoder. And as Justin mentioned at the beginning of the call, one of the great things it offers you is the ability to increase video quality while maintaining your kind of current CPU footprint. That's one of the reasons we want to bring it, because we know quality matters to you, as well as for those folks who are managing your infrastructure. You have to manage your cost and be able to scale your infrastructure as you grow your business. Of course, it has some supported codecs. In this case, it's 264 and 265. And the one thing I'll point you to is we have great documentation. I think after this call, we will be sending a follow-up email. But we released this with 4.8.11 back in March, and we'll have an upcoming release with some additional tuning that will once again deliver great quality video while minimizing or keeping the CPU footprint flat. All right, next one. The next slide has been an ask, and pretty exciting because it really is an enablement for you guys. So that is the ability to have time metadata for MPEG-live video streams. And as a lot of you know, really the workflows that this can enable are queued interactivity. And that can look like anything from text or graphic overlay, logos, for instance, having the ability to have links for kind of more of a buying streaming experience, or questions, Q&A at certain times of videos. And then of course, other things that you can enable with partnership with the players, such as controlling or disabling the scrolling through the scrub bar. And then depending on how you build your application, maybe even overlaying things such as bidding and or betting, depending on your business. So this is a great way to use these formats as you drive your interactivity and ensuring that the video that you're streaming is also driving your business goals. Once again, this actually came out back in February, so hopefully some of you are taking advantage of it now. But once again, our documentation covers it really well and shows you how to leverage that important and hopefully valuable functionality for your system. Well, the next slide was another one we've been hearing about, and we're excited to deliver it to you. So as Robert mentioned, protecting your content is critical. And there's many different ways. There's DRM, there's watermarks, of course, there is the secure in transfer, but there's also the link protection, which is leveraging secure tokens. And and really are leveraging our, the hashes that we can create on our side that we have done for other, protocols. And now we're delivering for WebRTC. This has been a big ask as a lot of you have adopted and are leveraging WebRTC. And now you're able to then add that protection to once again ensure that only people who should be accessing that link and therefore have that hashed token are actually able to get access. So once again, as you guys are growing your business in the market where we are aware of increased fraud or increased activity that is kind of counter to what we're trying to accomplish, we are excited to have this, particularly for a format that more and more of you are using. Once again, this was in our .11 release back in March. And so hopefully a few of you are already using it. If not, our documentation has some good detail about how to configure this for your streams. So really, once again, it's giving you the ability to improve the quality of your streams with these recent releases. Ensure that you can, if you are using Dash, you have the ability to do some more interactivity to drive your business. And of course, ensure that you are delivering your video to the right people and controlling your audience as you grow. So very excited, and hopefully you will continue to see some great, some features that help improve Wowza streaming engine, and of course, allow you to use this to maximize all your business goals. And we're excited to help support with that.
All right. Thank you, John. I'm curious, since you were talking about WebRTC there at the end, are we seeing much more usage of WebRTC than other protocols?
It's growing, certainly. I think, the percentages we are, as Robert mentioned, we're constantly looking to see the mix and where growth is. From what we can see in our data, it is growing, and it does support a lot of use cases that we're seeing and making it easier for people who are actually creating that content to capture that video.
Okay. One question I have that I see that came in is, do we plan to support AAC for WebRTC? From their knowledge, only Opus is supported at this time.
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
I could help answer
Okay.
that. Which I did send the answer within the Q&A is Opus's spec. If that changes, likely we'll look into AAC being available.
I believe, though, we can transcode it at this time, correct, Jason?
Yeah, it's an easy, low overhead transcode being audio. So it will transcode the Opus, the AAC to Opus, and we can change the sample rate. We take care of all that.
Awesome. Okay. Again, everyone, if you do have questions that you'd like to ask later, please feel free to send those questions in and we will answer them. Oh, well, we do have a couple more questions in, but like I said, we'll definitely answer those at the end. In the meantime, let's jump ahead into Clearcaster. And I do have, yes, another poll right here for Clearcaster. Questions being, what are you currently using for video ingestion? We would love to know that, as well as what are the most important features for you in an encoder? I'll give you a few seconds to answer that. Emma, I have some answers for you. I don't know if you'd like them, but
Yeah.
I admit I am always on the hunt for new, I'm not going to say toys, but new technology to implement as part of either live streaming or even recording in general. I think so much today is sort of an integration of both now, both just to record it onto your computer as well as integrated into live streaming.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And I will leave this up for a few more seconds, guys, but it looks like pretty much the people who have wanted to answer have. So with that, I am going to end the poll and let's move forward.
All right. Thanks, Justin. And thanks everyone for answering that poll. That'll be super helpful to look back on. But I'm excited to talk to you today about what's new and coming down the pipeline for Clearcaster. First thing I want to touch on is our new Facebook paired templates. So those of you who have maybe been around since the beginning may remember the original Clearcaster device was built to exclusively stream to Facebook Live, and as a result was tightly integrated with Facebook's video API. Since those early days, we've obviously added Universal Manager, which allows you to stream to almost any RTMP destination, and also use and customize templates for your broadcasts. But we've always kept the Facebook Manager around to allow that special Facebook functionality. But today I'm very excited to announce that for the first time since we launched it, really, we are kind of revamping our Facebook Live experience, bringing the power of a deep Facebook API integration into the Universal Manager, and harnessing the power of those templates. So this work is still in development by our team, but I wanted to give you guys all a little sneak preview of what to expect with this new Facebook experience. So the main benefit, really, in my opinion, is that with these new Facebook paired templates, you can run your broadcast to Facebook Live completely from the Clearcaster UI. You don't have to worry about going back and forth between Facebook's Live Producer, the Clearcaster UI, worry about copy and pasting your stream URL, your stream key, and maybe messing something up. Everything you need to do, creating, starting, and stopping the broadcast from Facebook can happen from within Clearcaster. So beyond that, I think there's also 3 other benefits that I'd like to point out. The first being redundancy. So these templates make it super simple to set up both a primary and a backup stream to the same Facebook destination. That means that Facebook can easily and automatically switch over to your backup stream if anything happens to the main stream, and your video broadcast can continue uninterrupted, which is always important. Secondly, we have the ability to optimize the path to Facebook Live. Since we're integrating with the Facebook Video API, we're able to run what's called a speed test. Since Facebook has live video ingestion servers all over the globe that help serve live videos, performing the speed test allows us to determine which video ingestion server is the best one for your broadcast. And with that comes improvements in speed, quality, latency, really just giving you the best experience possible for your live stream. And then finally is our ability to have a frame accurate start. So on Facebook and a lot of live streaming platforms, you probably know there can be a slight delay between when the broadcast goes live and when the video is finished processing and flowing through the whole pipeline. This particularly becomes difficult if you have, for example, like on-air talent who needs to know exactly when the broadcast has gone live so they can start talking and start doing their event. So what we've been able to do is create an option to set a number of countdown timer steps. So when you have that monitor plugged into your Clearcaster, you'll get a nice big countdown clock with the number of seconds you chose, counting down and let you know exactly when to go live. So that's the Facebook paired templates. The next thing I want to quickly touch on is the ability to share broadcasts. This is another new feature, but this one is actually already released and out in production. So if you want to play around with that today, you can. And what this lets you do is easily and securely create a shared URL that you can give to a non-Clearcaster user so that they could start or stop the broadcast, or even control the graphics if you have that set up. This is great in a situation if maybe you had an event producer or someone who you want to control your broadcast, but you don't necessarily want them to have access to the whole Clearcaster UI. You don't want them to accidentally maybe mess with one of your templates or broadcast settings you already have. This makes it super simple to give them just control to what they need to do. This is available for all types of broadcasts in the Universal Manager, but it is particularly important to the Facebook paired templates I just talked about. And in this situation, it has some extra functionality built in, namely the ability to pair directly to a Facebook account and choose a destination to stream to. So again, in kind of the event producer scenario, if you're running an event for a client or talent to run a stream to their Facebook page, you don't necessarily want to know their credentials or know their Facebook password. So instead, you can create the shared URL for them, share it with them. They can log into their Facebook securely, And then you now have the ability to start the stream, edit any settings, and stream to their Facebook whenever your event is ready to go. So with that was a lot of talking. So I'd love to jump into a quick demo walkthrough. Like I said, this work is still in development, but quickly wrapping up. So I was able to sneak into one of our pre-production environments and record a short video walking through this flow for you. So Justin, if you start that, we can go through it. So as I mentioned earlier, the previous Facebook Manager was kind of its own separate UI that you toggled back and forth between. Up in the top corner. You'd go back to Universal Manager whenever you wanted to use templates. But the good news is that this new work, everything happens within Universal. So the first thing you do is create a broadcast just like you would for any other broadcast in Clearcaster. You throw in a name, you choose whichever device you want to use. And then the important and new thing here is in destinations, you'll want to choose the Facebook paired destination under our built-in social media heading. And you see once I selected that, a bunch of new Facebook specific settings popped up below. So the first thing we'll look at is the encoding templates. So we have a bunch of pre-built templates for a variety of resolutions and frame rates. This is still in development. We do have a plan to have a vertical video or a VR template in case that's what source you have. And once you select one, the next choice is the primary ingest stream checkbox. This is how you would set up redundancy. Super simple, check it for your mainstream, uncheck it for your backup. For this demo, we're just sending in one primary stream, so we can leave that alone. Then the next option is optimizing path to Facebook Live. Again, a simple checkbox. This is what you'd want to leave checked though if you are wanting to do the speed test to find the closest Facebook video ingestion server for the best video experience. And then finally is the countdown timer steps. Again, this is where you choose the number of seconds you want on your countdown clock so that your talent knows exactly when to go live. And then the last few things are just generic Clearcaster settings. So we can leave those alone and create the broadcast. And you'll notice once the broadcast is created, rather than the go live blue button, there's a now call to action to share the broadcast. So this gets us in to the new shared broadcast feature that I just talked about also. You create a shared URL, you put in a passphrase, and then generate a URL. So even if you're the sole person running this event or running your Clearcaster, you'll just need to quickly open up the URL you created, throw in your own passphrase, and then you're into kind of the dashboard where you can control the stream to Facebook Live. Here you can see I'm already logged into my Facebook account, so I just need to choose exactly the destination I want to go to, whether it's my timeline or group or page I manage. There's also privacy settings you can select. Soon we'll get prompted for a title and a description to go along with our Facebook post with the live video. And this is where you can see if you're streaming to a Facebook account you don't own, you would give them this URL and the passphrase. The talent could log in here, connect to their Facebook, and then you're ready to edit any settings and take the stream live when the event's ready. So next we'll hop into preview mode. You can see immediately we go into an optimizing path to Facebook Live status. This again is making sure that we're hitting the closest Facebook video server to have the best experience. This can take several seconds to process. Like I said, the video needs to move through Facebook's video pipeline. So we'll give it some time to finish that up. But any second now, you'll see the preview pop up in the top right corner. While the video loads, you'll also notice on the left-hand column, we have a monitor section that has a bunch of stats that make it super easy for you to keep an eye on your input, your output, codec, bitrate, etc. So at this point, we can either stop the preview if we realize we need to fix or change something, or you can go live. Again, going live takes a second for the video to go through, but just for fun, we can pop over to Facebook and verify that everything is working. You can see it's still connecting. Here you can see all the Facebook details or settings if those are relevant. And then there we have it. The video is now going live on Facebook. There's some extra stream metrics that you can look at here if you're interested. You can also end the video on the Facebook side. Or if you want to do everything from the Clearcaster side, there's also the stop live button up top there. And once you stop that, that's really all there is to it. So that's the quick run through of the Facebook paired templates and our new shared broadcast flow. Back to you, Justin, and happy to take any questions at this time.
All right. Let me just jump back here into Q&A, and we don't have any questions yet at the moment. Let's give it a few seconds for some people to be able to ask questions. Thank you for doing that presentation. I did not know that we had worked so heavily on our Facebook integration. I am curious, I'm sorry, I can't remember this. I know that Facebook used to only allow 720p. Does it now allow 1080p for everyone?
Correct. 1080 is available for everyone, and we have templates already pre-built to help make sure you get that best resolution.
Okay. And that being said, everyone, beyond answering questions regarding Wowza Clearcaster, we're answering any and all questions coming in right now, so feel free to type them in. One of the questions that we had got, and sorry, Emma, this is not a question for Clearcaster. It was asking when Wowza streaming engine support will be there for the Apple M1 chip. So
yeah, so that's not currently on the roadmap. One thing that we will look is pay attention to the adoption and understand, where that fits and where we, once again, it can prioritize that work versus other thing that's help a lot of people. So we know there's a lot of excitement about it, but we will have to see the need that's coming from the market about how many people are leveraging these chips, and therefore, that can help define when we need to support them. So not the greatest answer, but it's just not on the immediate roadmap, if that's more straightforward.
all right. Thank you, John. Another question, I guess it's same person. In addition to the M1 chip, are there any plans to support transcoding on Mac OS? So right now, I believe Wowza Streaming Engine does not do any transcoding on Mac OS. You would require you to have Windows or Linux in order
Linux.
to,
yeah. That's our current path for now, until the market, including you, tell us otherwise. Yeah, we know that Linux is right now it's been at least communicated to us as a good workaround for those folks who are on a Mac OS to leverage Linux. If not, and that changes drastically, of course, we will ensure that we are delivering it in a way that works with what our customers need.
All right. Well, that is what it looks like, all the questions that we have so far. If you do have more questions, do feel free to contact our technical support at wowza.com/support/open-ticket. We also have a community forum you're welcome to contact us in, and you can always email our sales support, and the number should be there in front of you right now. So if there aren't any questions, I want to thank Emma, John, Jason, appreciate you answering all the questions coming in, and Robert as well for being here. Oh, and we do have some more questions coming in. Shall we answer them? Does anybody want to? Shall we stick around? Sure. Okay.
Of course.
All right. And the question that just came in is regarding streaming via Facebook. Do you have any insight on which type of content is used for only Facebook streaming? Not sure I understand that.
Yeah, I think for Facebook only streaming, it really depends on, your business, your use case, what types of events you're using. Like Facebook streaming, and Facebook probably has more information on this than us, but it's used just to supplement any sort of live streaming you do. Any type of live event you can stream to Facebook and use our workflow or any other workflow to get it there for that matter.
Awesome. I mean, I'm in a closed group. Well, I'm in many closed groups on Facebook, but I do run a few. I am the admin for some few relating to terrariums, and I would love to use, which I will, just for the record, Clearcaster to stream, say, some how-tos or just, you know, some live chats with some people. I think it's definitely a great option. Okay, and Jason, I see many things have suddenly disappeared. Did you answer all those questions?
Yeah, it was just thanking us.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. Well, in that case, thank you all. Definitely appreciate it. Emma, John, Jason, Robert, thank you again. And I hope you all have a great day. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Take
Thanks,
care.
all.
Thank you.